Come here in a we still got to do some hunting tests. We got a couple hours before I got to go to bed, but I was going to talk about what I think I might try to do with magic stuff. So my local library is trying to do a renovation, and they might be getting that done sometime this year, like starting to do it or whatever. But we play Magic there once a week, and there's a group of people that go, and it's okay. And there's a decent group of people that go there. The library has rules where you can't really do things for profit, so you can't really make money off of things that you do there. However, what I think I want to try and do is take the laptop that I was going to use for streaming, because it's having a hard time streaming because it's overheating. It has heating issues for sure. So streaming plus games is already kind of rough. But I'm thinking if I could potentially record with two or three webcams at the same time, maybe I could get it done with like two webcams or so. I might be able to just record on the OBS without the laptop overheating. And I might I mean, potentially I could buy multiple sets of laptops or something if I had to, but ideally I would want to get one computer that could run a bunch of webcams at the same time and then start recording Kingdom's Magic games and post them online. That way, every time that we play, we can record them, we can post them online, we can advertise that a bit at the library. And then if things do take off on that channel or whatever that I use for um, the Magic card game, I can donate that back into the library or public services in town. Like the police station could use like training equipment because they have one of the best police training courses in all the cities and stuff around here. But they have trouble getting people to volunteer and help, things like that. And the library could use more money for renovations, I'm sure, and stuff like that. And then recording it would just be something that's kind of fun and easy to do. I don't know if I would have editing skills enough to, or like knowledge of the game enough to actually like discuss the content and explain what's going on exactly. But I could record it and post online and stuff, and then maybe try to host events later on down the road. Could be cool, but you can't do like prizes and giveaways and stuff. Apparently, it's like the rules of the library. But we could still do like a tournament or whatever. Um, I'm not 100% sure how I would get prizes involved if I could. I would have to maybe set like the library would be its own thing, and then maybe host my own event outside of the library for like a competitive thing. But one of the other issues with Magic is like when you get competitive decks involved, things get out of hand and people do like infinite combos and stuff. So I want to try and break that apart. I've talked to some of the Magic players. A lot of them don't like the idea because they like being having their decks to where they're very consistent and able to win like really quickly. But I like the more political aspect of Commander when it comes to Magic. The interactions, the discussions, the things that happen when your deck doesn't just pop off every 2 seconds. Um, and part of that I think is going to have to do with Kingdoms. I haven't seen any content made over Kingdoms either. So I want to do competitive Kingdoms games, but also like competitive casual games, you know? So you'll do like precon commander decks, or you'll do like precon type mana. Like you can do like a precon and then replace 15 cards out of the deck and try to do something with it. Or you could do, anything around those lines. I think you could potentially do as long as the mana base and stuff was pretty consistent around the decks. I think you wouldn't run into that many issues. The other deal is that when it comes to kingdoms with Magic, it's also a lot more random. So basically, it'd be very difficult for you to build a deck around like any specific role that is in kingdoms for the most part. And then from that, you would have, uh, yeah, it would be pretty hard. Like, so if you have any rolling in the Kingdoms game, you can't just go and use an infinite combo because you would lose um, a ton. Like you run the potential of losing from the game rules itself. So like a knight or the king would be the most useful potentially in that. Maybe the usurper, so you'd have like three of the roles or something. But it would be very difficult to pull it off if you're like the bandit. Well, like the bandits could be rough as well. Anyway, I think you should probably have to make some sort of casual stuff because a lot of things with Magic in particular, if you try to get in competitive scenes, the things just get ridiculously fast and overpowered. There's not no slow build up or board state stuff. It's just people pop off in 2 seconds and somebody wins. But infinite combos, if we can slow them down, I think it'd be more interesting. And it's also like something that beginning players, so there's like I think 6 or 7 kids that go over there and play Magic, um, and they're going to like the town over right now and playing in a two-headed giant match this weekend. But that two-headed giant match, first off, there's 4 owners that play like purely competitive decks that are making the rules there, and then there's people that come from like 45 minutes away that play really competitive decks that destroy the owners. And then you're going to have basically these kids go in there and play against these guys in a 2v2 game, and it's not going to go well. Like, you're going to have 2 kids with subpar decks against 2 really strong players. They're going to get blown out in the first 2 seconds. And those competitions aren't really as fun, I don't think, for them. Whereas, like, something like a Kingdoms game, you go into that, even if you brought a competitive deck, like, if you don't have the king, the knight, or the usurper, basically, it'd be a little rough. I mean, technically, a lot of people there could win with infinite combos, but it would have to be something that doesn't nuke everyone at the table. Like, it would have to be a targeted infinite combo for the most part. And that might be a little hard to do. And most of those things require a lot of setup and would require fast mana, which, if you can choose what people's decks would be, like a less expensive option to get in Commander, I would say they use lands, so many basics, so many non-basic lands, and then you could have basic mana rocks, so like the signets, um, soul stone or soul ring, maybe like up to 2 or 3 mana fixing signets that are more expensive, and then that would be it. Like the mana base would be set, and then you would have, whatever other mana cards that you would have and all that stuff in there. I feel like it'd be fairly difficult um, to make a deck that would pop off super quickly without access to really fast ramp, which would be the first part. And then after that, everything would slow more down. Because that's another thing with when you play with kids, especially, um, they might not know what's really going on at the table. And by turn 2, you have 6 creatures on there with effects, and they don't know which one's going to do the infinite combo. And you have 20 times their mana, and you're going to have problems. So I think there's potential, but we're going to need to test the laptop only with recording. I might do it tomorrow. I'm not really sure. I might do it tomorrow, maybe some other time. But I need to get at least a secondary webcam, or I could use this one. And then I will use the webcam that's attached onto the laptop, record from both at the same time, overlay them on OBS. And then if I have any more areas that I can plug cams in, I would plug them in, because technically, if we're going to do a full Kingdoms, I would like to be able to get the whole thing to where everyone can see what's going on. But otherwise, I would have to get probably multiple computers and webcams aimed at each individual board, which would be a little bit more expensive. But I'm thinking, webcam wise, if we had to buy 3 sets of everything, I'm probably looking at depending on how much the prices have went up, I could probably get something cheap and decent enough to record with for 150 per. So you're looking at 450, 500 bucks. And then recording wise, I would need a laptop or something that would be able to record um, 3 stations with 6 cameras, or at least 3 cameras. So I think that would be interesting. Speaking of which, I need to send a message to a guy. All right, and then we will hop back on Scum. I'm gonna end this stream, hop back on Scum. We'll change the title and we'll test out the hunting stuff some more.